Hi guys, today we are going to be dyeing a synthetic wig. Alright, so today I wanted to come on here and I wanted to show you guys how to dye a synthetic wig. I get asked all the time about dyeing wigs, and especially synthetic wigs, because they aren't the same as human hair. You cannot dye them like you would dye your normal everyday hair. There are a lot of different methods that are out there. If you search on YouTube, you'll see tons of videos. The big factor is how much space you have to work with. If you have an outdoor space to do this in, there are different methods. So today, what I wanted to show you guys is the Rit Dye method. So we're gonna be dyeing this synthetic wig right here, and her name is Goldie, and she very golden blonde, and it just looks very artificial to me. It just doesn't really, it's too yellow. And I really wanted to just kind of change the way that she looks. So I felt like she was a good option to test this dyeing out. I will say, I have never dyed a synthetic wig with Rit Dye. I have dyed a synthetic wig with acrylic ink before, and that involves like alcohol and spraying it down and stuff like that. And I have successfully dyed synthetic wigs that way, but I've never actually dyed a wig with Rit. So I am experiencing this with you guys for the first time as well. So we are gonna have some trial and error, I'm sure, but I figured she was the best option. She is a blonde, but she's not like a platinum blonde. So that's gonna affect the color a little bit, but I'm hoping it's not gonna be too crazy because we are gonna be dyeing her a darker color. To do this, obviously you need your wig. You need a big like pasta pot that you can fill with water. You don't necessarily need it to have a lid. I just have a lid on there because I've already gotten the water warming up. And then you also want to have obviously your Rit dye. You definitely want to make sure you use gloves for this because you don't want you to dye your hands because you are handling dye and stuff. And then I have just a couple kitchen utensils. So I've got like a stirring spoon, a whisk, and then I have like little tongs to pick her up out of the water, which is where we're gonna be putting her. So I would suggest that you just go out to like the Dollar Tree or whatever dollar store you have and buying these items so that you don't have to reuse these when you're done with them, because the only thing is you are gonna be using them with synthetic style dyes and chemicals and stuff, and I wouldn't recommend using them for cooking again after you use them for this. So Dollar Tree or whatever is like the easiest place. You're also gonna wanna get some type of bowl or bucket. It's gonna make it a lot easier for you to transfer the wig out of the water without making as much of a mess from it dripping. So those are the things you're gonna need. So nothing crazy. I got this from Michael's, Walmart, Target, most superstores that like in the laundry section have Rit dyes. I went with the actual DyeMore Synthetic over the regular Rit because this actually says that it is for polyester, nylon, and acrylic, which are the pretty much the ingredients of a synthetic wig, versus the original one, which is more like cotton wool. It does say nylon plus more, but this one's really specific for synthetic material. So I'm hoping that because that it's more geared towards synthetic material, it'll hold better to the hair. I could be wrong, but we're gonna test it out. We're gonna get right into this, and I'm gonna go ahead and start and show you guys step by step how I'm gonna dye this wig. So the first thing you want to do is you want to fill your pot of water, and I'm using a very large pot. I think what is it, 12 quarts? Just so I have enough space. I filled it up about halfway because I don't want to fill it up too full because I'm going to be putting the wig in here, which is going to make it rise. But I want to have enough water in here to fully submerge the wig. The next thing you want to do is you want to bring the water to a boil. It is recommended that you use a thermometer just to check the temperature. You want it to be around 160. Just because they are heat safe synthetic wigs, but not all heat safe synthetic wigs can handle high heat. So you don't want it to be too hot, but we're gonna be going with the method of bringing it up to a boil and then turning it down to simmer just to make sure it's not too hot because I don't have a thermometer. And this is just kind of another method you can do if you don't have one, but I do recommend getting one if you can, just to be even safer. So we're gonna be adding this Rit dye in Midnight Navy, and I'm gonna be adding the whole bottle because I want it to be relatively dark. So we're gonna go ahead and add the whole bottle. Now you can, if you wanted to do like a lighter color, you could just add less dye, but the more dye you add, the darker the color is gonna be. So we're gonna go ahead and add this And then we're also, just because she is a little bit of a yellow tone, I am going to go ahead and add a couple capfuls of this eggplant just to help deepen the color a little bit. And I just want to keep it from turning like a greenish color because we are doing blue and yellow. So I'm hoping that a couple, about 4 capfuls is what I'm going to do, of the eggplant will just help deepen that color just a little bit and kind of counteract the yellow. And then we're just gonna stir this up, and we're just gonna wait for this to come up to a boil, and then we're going to add the wig. So because I wanted to be on the safe side, I did cut very inconspicuously in the middle part of the wig. I cut a small piece of hair off so that we could test the color to make sure it's the color we want before we go in and completely dye the wig and it be totally terrible. So I did want to play it safe for you guys so that I didn't mess this up, because we only have 1 wig. I mean, we have more wigs, but I'm not dyeing them. So I'm just bringing this up to a boil. Once it gets to a full boil, I'm going to go ahead and turn it down so that it's simmering. Yep. All right, so once we have this to a boil, and it's almost to a full boil, so it should be hot enough, I'm going to go ahead and turn it on to simmer, just because I just want it to keep the temperature that it's at, but I don't want it to be too hot. And we're gonna go ahead, and I did this little test strip, so we're gonna go ahead and just dunk this in and test out the color, just so we can see what it's gonna look like. So it's kind of light, so I think I'm gonna add some more of the eggplant to it to make it a little bit darker. I'm putting about half the bottle in there, and that's just gonna give us more of a darker shade. It's gonna be a little bit more purpley blue now because we did add a lot more of that eggplant, but that's okay. All right, so it's gonna be like this navy, lighter, a little bit of a lighter navy, which is fine because the roots are darker, so I'm okay with it being a little bit lighter. And we're gonna leave it in a little bit longer, so it's gonna be a little bit darker than this. But that's just a test strip. It doesn't look green to me, which is good, so that was really my main concern. So I think we're okay to put the whole wig in. So here we go, no take backs. So you wanna put this whole wig in there. Make sure there's no tag on it first. And you also, just so you know, if it is a curly wig, you are gonna lose the curl pattern. I'm fine with that because I'm actually gonna go ahead and straighten her, and I might potentially recurl her, but I'm okay with the curl pattern going away. But if you do dye a wig that's curly, you are potentially gonna lose some of the curl. Some of it might stay, but you are gonna lose most of it. So just be aware of that. So I'm gonna go ahead and just dip this wig in, submerge it all the way in there. I'm gonna use my whisk just to push it down and make sure it's all the way in. And then we just have this on simmer, and we're gonna go ahead and take this off the heat. All right, so after we leave this in for about 5-10 minutes, you're gonna wanna take it out. So we're gonna go ahead and get it out of here. It's kind of a pain in the butt to get out of here. And then you're gonna wanna transfer it into that bowl I showed you earlier, just so you can make the littlest mess possible in your kitchen. So we're gonna go ahead, now we have this, we're gonna go ahead and rinse it out, just so we can rinse out any excess dye that's in it. And you wanna do this until it runs clear. And I just have the little utensils in the sink, but we wanna do this till it runs clear, so that we can really see how the color is, and if we need to put it back into the water for a little bit longer, we'll know before we dump the colored water. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and rinse this out. There is a lot of excess dye, so you just wanna kinda squeeze it out. Be careful, it's gonna be hot. And we're just rinsing this out with cool water until the water runs clear. You don't really want to brush through this just yet, just because it is still cooling off, and if you brush it while it's hot, it can damage the fibers of the wig. So just make sure you rinse it out first before you brush through it. And like I said, you just want to run this through until the water comes out clear. And then we're going to hang this up to dry. We're going to brush her out a little bit once we hang her up, but we're going to hang her up to dry. And then we are going to see how she looks. And at that point, we'll kind of see what real color she ended up being. And we can make a decision then on if we want to throw her back in or not. All right, so this is the final look. And I'm not gonna lie, I thought it was gonna be way darker, but I absolutely love the color it turned out. It's this really cool bluish gray. And it has like a hint of, my husband says he does see like a hint of a green in it, but it actually like works with the color. It doesn't like make it look like it's a green wig. So I'm gonna get a little closer so you guys can just kind of get a close up of what it looks like. It worked all the way through. It reminds me a lot of, now that she's straightened and everything, it reminds me a lot of like Veda, but like Veda's more edgy sister. And the rooting, the black rooting worked out really nicely. It still has like that ombre rooted look, so it's not too dark. Whereas if it had been really navy, I could see the rooting not showing up as much. So this was like a nice, it's a nice shade. I'm pleasantly surprised, to be honest with you. It's not the shade that I thought it was gonna be, but I like it more than what I was planning on. So I did just cut the lace off, and I cut some of these baby hairs that it came with off as well, because I'm not really a fan of baby hairs, and they like stick out all crazy everywhere, and I couldn't get them to flatten down. So this is the final wig. And like I said, I used 1 bottle of the Midnight Navy, and I used a half a bottle of that Eggplant. So if you're wanting to get this shade, that's what I used. So yeah, so this is it. I hope you guys liked this video. I hope it helped you feel a little bit more comfortable if you're wanting to dye a wig. And if you are new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you get notifications on any videos I do in the future. I'd also really appreciate a like on this video. And also don't forget to tune in Friday. I will be announcing the winners for my makeup giveaway that we selected today, and we're gonna go ahead and do that video and post that up for you guys on Friday, so make sure you check that video out as well. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you on the next video.